Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to crochet this beautiful lemon peel vest, adjustable for all sizes. If you don't know me, hi, my name is Lala. I'm a crochet designer who loves turning yarn into just about anything, from stylish wearables to cute amigurumi and everything in between. So make sure to hit that subscribe button so I can keep creating free tutorials and sharing new ideas. Let's start crocheting! To start, we're going to take our yarn and hook and start with a slip knot. And if you're not sure how to make a slip knot, I'll link a tutorial now on screen showing 3 different ways how to do it so you can pick your favorite. Next, we're going to chain an odd number of chains that will loosely get from one side of your waist to the other side. I'm going to chain 61, so to chain you're going to pass the hook under the yarn, and using the hook's head we're going to grab the yarn into the slip knot's loop. And this is your first chain. Again, if you need a slower tutorial, I'll link now on screen. Let's continue chaining, pass the hook under the yarn, and using the hook's head, grab it into the loop on the hook. Continue chaining until you get your desired number of chains. When you got the foundation chain with enough chains to get from one side of your waist to the other, make sure it's an odd number and write it down so you can use it later. If you turn your foundation chain a little bit, you see we have these little bumps here behind the chain. We're going to insert our hook into the back bump of the second chain from the hook. So this is the first chain, this is the second one. We're going to turn it and find the back bump of the second chain. And then insert your hook into that back bump. You can help with your fingers a little bit. Yarn over into the loop, and when you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over into both of them. And this is our first stitch, the first single crochet. If you're a beginner or you just don't want to miss the first stitch in your counting, I recommend using a stitched marker to mark the first stitch. On to the next back bump, which is this one, we're going to work a double crochet. So to double crochet, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the back bump, yarn over, into the loop, and when you have 3 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn over and into the left 2 loops only, like this. Now you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over into the remaining 2 loops. And this was our second stitch, the double crochet. We're going to alternate between single crochet and a double crochet all the way to the end of the foundation chain, and this will create the lemon peel pattern effect. So next, like we did before, we're going to insert our hook into the back bump, yarn over, and when you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over into both of them to form a single crochet. Into the next back bump, we're going to work a double crochet. So first, yarn over, into the bump, yarn over, back into the loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over into the left 2 only, and yarn over into the remaining 2. We're going to alternate between a single crochet and a double crochet all the way to the end of the foundation chain, and I'll see you at the last stitch. When you're finished working your first row, what we're going to do is turn our work like this, so the back of the stitches is facing us. We're going to chain 1, and this chain doesn't count as a stitch, it's just a turning chain. You also don't have to do it if you don't need to, but if you're a beginner, it's easier to find the stitch with a turning chain. And we're going to repeat row 1 into the first stitch. We're going to insert our hook and work a single crochet. Then move to the next stitch, and on top of the single crochet, you're going to work a double crochet. And we're going to repeat that all the way to the end of the round. A single crochet followed by a double crochet all the way to the end of the row. and this creates the lemon peel texture. Finish your second row and I'll see you back again at the last double crochet stitch of the row. When you got to the last stitch of row 2, it's that marked stitch, the first one of row 1. Take out the stitch marker and work a double crochet into that first stitch. And this was our second row. From row 3 to row 25, we're simply going to repeat what we did in row 2. We're going to turn our work so the back of the stitches is facing us. Work a turning chain that doesn't count as a stitch. And into that first stitch of the row, we're going to work a single crochet, followed by a double crochet into the stitch after it. And again, if you feel more confident with a stitch marker into the first stitch, please do it. Continue working rows of lemon peel texture and I'll see you back again at the end of row 25. When you got to row 25, put the panel on your torso and make sure it covers from your belly to under your armpits. If you need more rows, please repeat row 2 until you reach the desired length. Don't work too many rows because we're still going to add the length of the ribbing at the bottom of the vest. What we're going to do is turn our panel to start the new row. We're going to chain 1. And again, this does not count as a stitch. We're going to skip 2 stitches and go straight into the third one from the hook and work a single crochet. And here I highly recommend using a stitch marker to mark the stitch because it tends to fold a little bit. Next, we're going to continue working lemon peel pattern, 1 single crochet followed by a double crochet. And we're going to do that until we have 3 stitches left at the end of the row. So let's almost complete our row and I'll see you back again at the last 3 stitches. When you got to the end of the row and you have 3 stitches left, what we're going to do is work a double crochet decrease. To work a double crochet decrease, we're first going to yarn over, insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, into the loop, and when you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over into the left 2 loops only. And then you're not going to complete the double crochet. We're going to yarn over again and go into the next stitch, yarn over into the loop. When you have 4 loops on your hook, we're going to yarn over into the left 2 only. And when you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over into all 3 loops. And this is a double crochet decrease. Next, we're going to turn our work and repeat what we did in row 26. We're going to chain 1, skip 2 stitches, and work a single crochet into the third stitch. Continue working lemon peel pattern until you reach your last 3 stitches of the row. And now when we got to the end of the round and we have 3 stitches left, we're going to again work a double crochet decrease into the next 2 stitches. So first yarn over into the first stitch of the 3, yarn over into left 2 loops, and yarn over into the next stitch, yarn over into the loop, yarn over into left 2 loops only, and when you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over into all 3 loops. Take out the stitch marker so you can use it. Turn your work and repeat what we did in the previous 2 rows. Chain 1, skip 2 stitches, work a single crochet into the third stitch, mark with a stitch marker, work lemon peel pattern until you have 3 stitches left at the end of the row, And when you get to the end of the row with 3 stitches left, work a double crochet decrease into the next 2 stitches. Repeat these instructions until you reach row 31, and then I'll see you back again. Once you're done with row 31, what we're going to do is count how many stitches we got in our last row. You're supposed to end up with an even number. I, for example, have 40 stitches in my last row in row 31. And what you're going to do is grab 2 stitch markers and mark the 2 central stitches. So let's say I have 40 stitches. I'm going to count stitch number 20 and 21. To start row 32, we're going to turn our work. First, we're going to chain 1, skip 2 stitches, and start our lemon peel pattern from the 3rd stitch. And again, if you need to, mark that first single crochet with a stitch marker. You're going to work the lemon stitch pattern until you have 2 stitches away from the first stitch marker. And now that we got almost to the stitch marker and we have 2 stitches away from it, what we're going to do is work a double crochet decrease. So yarn over, into the stitch, yarn over, and also into the next stitch. And work a double crochet decrease. And now you can take out that stitch marker and turn your work. And from now we're going to start working the neck area. For row 33, we're going to simply work lemon peel pattern all the way to the last stitch in the row. A single crochet followed by a double crochet, just like we did before. Let's work the last double crochet. And this was row 33. What we're going to do next is turn our work. Start working our lemon peel pattern as usual until we have 2 stitches left. When we got 2 stitches left, we're going to work a double crochet decrease. Then we're going to turn our work. And what we're going to do next is alternate between rows 33 and 34 until we reach row number 42. So for row 33, we're just going to work a lemon peel stitch all the way to the end of the row. And then turn our work. And for row 34, we're going to start by working our lemon peel pattern regularly until we have 2 stitches left at the end of the row. And then when you have 2 stitches left at the end of the row, work a double crochet decrease. Keep alternating between rows 33 and 34 until we reach row number 42. And then I'll see you back again. Once you finish alternating between rows 33 and 34 for 8 rows, we're going to turn our work and simply work rows of lemon peel pattern until we reach the desired length of the strap, each to their own body. I worked 7 more rows. So just work a lemon peel row, single crochet and then double crochet all the way to the end of the row. Don't miss any stitch. Then turn your work and do that again. I'll see you back again when we finished working at least 7 rows. And of course, if you need longer straps, please add more rows. I worked the strap up to row 48, but if you need more length to the strap, of course, add more rows. When you're done and you got to the last row, you're simply going to chain one, grab your scissors and cut off the yarn. Pull away the hook to fasten off. To make the second strap, what we're going to do is attach new yarn. So first make a slip knot and attach it to the first stitch of row 31 from the other side of the strap we already made. Insert your hook, put the slip knot on the hook, make it tight around the hook and through the loop with the new slip knot loop. Then we're going to chain one. We're going to skip the next stitch and start working lemon peel pattern from the second stitch. So skip this stitch and insert your hook into the stitch next to it, working a single crochet. Mark the first stitch if you need to, and work the lemon stitch pattern until you reach 2 stitches away from the other stitch marker we put. When you have 2 stitches left before the stitch marker, work a double crochet decrease. Then you're going to turn your work and repeat what we did from row 33 all the way to the end of the first strap. So go back to that part of the tutorial and I'll see you back again to finish the strap. When you're done and you got to the last row, you're simply going to chain one, grab your scissors and cut off the yarn. Pull away the hook to fasten off. Now that we've finished with our front panel, let's go make the back panel. For the back panel, we're going to repeat row 1 to 31 from the front panel. When you've reached the end of row 31 and you have the same number of stitches you had at the end of row 31 in the front panel, stop and come back to the tutorial. Once you've finished working 31 rows for the back panel, we're going to start row 32 by turning our work and repeat what we did in row 31. We're going to chain one, skip 2 stitches, and start working the lemon peel pattern until we have 3 stitches at the end of the round. Once you got to almost the end of the row and you have 3 stitches left, we're going to work a double crochet decrease like we did in the previous rows. Next, for row 33, we're going to turn our work, chain one, and again this does not count as a stitch, and we're going to work lemon peel pattern all the way to the end of the round. So start with your single crochet and continue with a double crochet. Alternate between the 2 until you reach the last stitch. And one last double crochet. Here we have our 33rd row. Next, we're going to repeat row 33 until we reach row 45. If in the front panel you worked like me 48 rows, you're going to go up until row 45. But if you worked more rows in your strap in the front panel, just take down 3 rows from your final row and then stop. So from row 34 to row 45, or the row that fits you based on what you did before, based on what you did in the front panel, work lemon peel rows, and I'll see you back again at the end of row 45. Once you got to row 45, your back panel should look like this. What we're going to do next is you're going to take your front panel, make sure that it matches with the size, and then you're going to count how many stitches you have in your strap. If you did everything like me, you should have 8 stitches in each strap. What we're going to do is go back to our last stitch in our last row, chain 1, turn our work, and work the same number of stitches we have in our strap. I'll work 8 stitches, but again, everyone should do what they got in their strap. Next, for row 47 and 48, we're going to turn our work, chain 1 and turn our work. And work 8 stitches like we did before. Just work a lemon peel stitch all the way to the end of row 46. And repeat that for 2 more rows, or as many rows as you made in your front panel. If you worked up more rows, then repeat the same number of rows for the back panel. I'm repeating the same thing for row 48. And once you completed the same number of rows you have in your front panel, you can chain 1, grab a pair of scissors, and cut off the yarn. Pull away the hook to fasten off. To make the second strap, grab back the yarn and make a slip knot. We're going to attach the new yarn piece to the other side of the row. Turn your work, find that first stitch of the row, the first single crochet, and insert your hook into it. Put the slip knot on the hook and attach the new yarn with a chain. Because this is a single crochet, we're going to start with a double crochet. So you can work 1 more chain, yarn over, and work a double crochet. We're working the opposite pattern for this row. Then go to the next stitch and work a single crochet, and continue doing that for as many stitches as you need. I made 8 stitches. Then we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and work 2 more rows the same way. Since we started with a single crochet, we're going to start again with 2 chains and a double crochet into that first stitch. I'm going to repeat that for 1 more row until I reach the end of row 48, but work as many rows as you need, just like we did for the first strap. Once you finish working rows for your back panel straps, we're going to chain 1, and this time we're not going to fasten off, we're going to start attaching the panels. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab your front panel and put the 2 panels attached to each other. Holding the 2 straps together, both the front and the back, turn your work with both straps in your hand attached to each other. Skip that chain we did to turn our work and insert your hook into that first stitch of the row. Once you did that, you're going to insert your hook into the next strap first stitch as well, like this. So now you have 2 stitches on your hook plus loop 0. We're going to yarn over into both stitches. And when you have 2 loops on your hook, you're going to grab the left one into the right one to make a slip stitch. And we're going to do the same thing for all next stitches in our straps. Insert your hook into the next stitch, insert your hook into the corresponding stitch in the back or the front panel, yarn over into both stitches, and work a slip stitch. Once you got to the end of the row and you have the same number of slip stitches as the same number of stitches in your strap, we're going to chain 1, and now we can finally cut off the yarn. We're going to do the exact same thing we did here on the other pair of straps. In this one, you can either use the tail we left when we fastened off, or you can attach a new piece of yarn like we did before. I'm going to try and use the tail first. Insert your hook into both stitches. Chain 1, which counts as our first slip stitch, and slip stitch together the 2 straps. When you're done, chain 1 and fasten off. Next, we're going to attach the panels on the side. So if you, like me, made 25 rows, we're going to work 25 slip stitches on the sides of the panels. If you made more rows to fit your body, of course you have to make the same number of stitches as you did your rows. First, we're going to insert our hook into the first stitch of the first row in any panel. It doesn't matter which panel you start from. And also insert it into the first stitch of the first row in the next panel, like this. Then grab your yarn and make a slip knot. Put the slip knot on the hook and attach it to both panels by working a chain. This chain counts as our first slip stitch, so we're going to go to the next row and also into the second row in the next panel and work a slip stitch. Go to the next row, insert your hook into both panels rows and work a slip stitch. Continue making slip stitches until you reach the last row of both panels. Once you finished working your slip stitches and the side is attached, we're going to turn our work and start working a round of single crochets around the armhole. So insert your hook into the row and start working single crochets. Once you got to the angle here, we're going to work a decrease. So insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, the one that starts the strap. When you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over into all 3 loops. Next, when we got to the strap part, we're going to work a single crochet for each row. So work your single crochets on the side of the strap until you reach this angle on the other side. Once you finished working your single crochets on the strap and we got to that angle here, we're going to again work a single crochet decrease and insert your hook into the next stitch to work a decrease. And continue working single crochets on the side of the stitches until you finish the round. When you finish the round, we're going to skip this connection point here and work a slip stitch into the first single crochet in the round. After you worked your single crochet, chain 1. Next, we're going to start making the armhole ribbing. So in addition to that chain you made to join the round, we're going to add 5 more chains, 6 in total. Then we're going to insert our hook into the second chain from the hook. This is chain 0, this is the first chain, and this is the second one. So we're going to insert our hook into the second one and work a single crochet. Next, work a single crochet in each of the next 4 chains. Until you have 5 single crochets in total. Next, we're going to slip stitch twice into the next 2 single crochets we did around the armhole. So first insert your hook into the first single crochet and work a slip stitch. Insert your hook into the next single crochet and work a slip stitch as well. Then we're going to turn our work, skip those 2 slip stitches, and go into the back loop only of the 5 single crochets we did before. Instead of going under the 2 loops like we would usually do, we're going to insert our hook between the loops and work a single crochet only into that back loop. Continue working single crochets into the back loops only until you reach the last stitch. Don't forget 5 single crochets in total. Then we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and again work single crochets into the 5 single crochets back loops only. When you reach the end of the row, we're going to slip stitch into the next 2 single crochets on the armhole. 1 and 2. Next, you're just going to alternate between rows 2 and 3 to complete the ribbing round. I'm going to complete my ribbing off camera and I'll see you back again at the end of the round. When you finished working rounds of ribbing around the armhole, what we're going to do is slip stitch together the first row and the last row. Doesn't matter if you finish here or here, as long as the 2 rows are attached. So turn your work so it will be more comfortable. Insert your hook into both stitches of both last and first row and work a slip stitch. Go into the next stitches with your hook and work a slip stitch as well. Continue working slip stitches into both stitches of both rows until you have 5 slip stitches and all stitches are attached to each other. When you're done, chain 1, grab your scissors and cut off the yarn. Pull away the hook to fasten off. Once you're done with the first armhole ribbing, go to the second armhole and repeat the same process here. I'm going to do my second armhole off camera and I'll see you back again when we're done to make the ribbing around the neckline. To make the neckline ribbing, we're going to start by attaching new yarn to this point here. You have this little straight area here and both of the end gold lines here. We're going to start by attaching the yarn just in between those 2 parts. So take your yarn and make a slip knot. Insert your hook into that area. Put the slip knot on the hook. Attach the new yarn by chaining 1. And now we're going to start working a round of single crochets like we did for the armholes. 1 single crochet to each row. When you get to the back part of the neckline, you'll have the stitches here, so just put 1 single crochet on top of each stitch. Complete your round of single crochets and I'll see you back again at the end of the round at this point here. When you completed your round of single crochets, we're going to insert our hook into the first single crochet of the round work a slip stitch, and then chain 6. We're going to start working the ribbon rows of the neckline, so just like we did before here in the armhole, we're going to skip the first chain and work single crochets into the chains. Slip stitch into the next 2 single crochets, turn our work, skip those 2 slip stitches, and work 5 single crochets into the back loops of the previous row. Chain 1 and turn your work, and again work single crochets into the back loops. And then slip stitch into the next 2 single crochets. Alternate between rows 2 and 3 until you reach 2 stitches away from the first row. Once you almost got to the end of the round, but you have 2 stitches left before the end of the round, what we're going to do is chain 1 if you haven't already, cut off the yarn and leave a long tail for sewing. Pull away the hook to fasten off and tighten the stitch. What we're going to do next is sew the neckline ribbing close like this. When this side is over this side, we're going to use the tail we left to sew it in place. Once you're done, flip the vest so we can fasten off and secure the tail. I like to do a little loop into the fabric and pass the needle a few times into that loop. Then you can just cut off the tail left. Now our neckline is completed. Let's move on to the bottom ribbing. Turn your vest upside down so we can work on the first row we did. Grab the yarn back into your hand and make a slip knot. Then pick any stitch from the first row, doesn't matter which one. Insert your hook into the stitch. Put the slip knot on the hook. And attach the new yarn by working a chain. Next, we're going to work 7 more chains. And just like we did before, we're going to insert our hook into the second chain from the hook and work a single crochet. Continue working single crochets into each of the next chains. When you have 7 single crochets, work 2 slip stitches into the next 2 stitches. One and 2. Then turn your work, skip those 2 slip stitches, and work 7 single crochets into the back loops only. When you've completed 7 single crochets into the back loops, turn your work. You can either chain 1 or you don't, but this chain doesn't count as a stitch if you make it. And again, work 7 single crochets into the back loops. And then when you reached the last stitch, again work 2 slip stitches into the next 2 stitches. Alternate between rows 2 and 3 until you reach the end of the round. I'm going to complete my ribbon off camera and I'll see you back again at the end of the round to close. Once you got to the end of the round and the bottom of the vest is ribbed, we can close off by joining the 2 rows, the last and the first one. So just like we did before, insert your hook into both corresponding stitches of both rows and slip stitch the 2 rows together. When you're done, chain 1, grab your scissors and cut off the yarn. Pull away the hook to tighten the stitch up. Now the last thing left for us to do is grab a darning needle and start weaving in the tails. So just go over the whole vest and locate the tails left and just weave them in. If you want to make it more secure, just tie 2 tails together and weave them in after the knot. When you're done and all tails are weaved in, flip your vest inside out so the slip stitches are inside, and enjoy your new vest. Thank you so much for joining me for this tutorial. I really hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you made this vest, please tag me on LalaBeCrocheting on Instagram, and I'll see you next video. Bye!